Wait, you mean to tell me I've been doing this YouTube thing for 2 years and I still haven't done a video about Edgar Wright? Okay, it's time to rectify that. Oh, Edgar Wright, how I love you so. Don't you love Edgar Wright? Oh, what's that? You're one of the way too many people who've never even seen a single Edgar Wright movie? Well, let me enlighten you. Edgar Howard Wright, born April 18th, 1947, is an English director, screenwriter, and producer. He is known for his fast-paced and kinetic, satirical genre films, which feature extensive utilization of expressive popular music, Steadicam tracking shots, dolly zooms, and his signature style of editing that includes transition. Okay, in my own words, scripting is hard. Edgar Wright is one of my favorite directors ever. His entirely unique style of storytelling, filmmaking, and storytelling through filmmaking is just unmatched. He is one of, if not the most visually engaging director working today, and the fact that no one has seen his movies hurts my soul. Seriously, his entire filmography hasn't even broken 500 million, and that should be some sort of crime. Baby Driver is his first and only film to date to make more than $100,000. Why is the world like this? But I digress. The man has talent. Even if you've never seen any of them, odds are you've at least heard of one of his movies. Let's be honest, if you enjoy the kind of content I make, you know what a Baby Driver is. All this endless preamble to say, I think Wright has one of the best filmographies going around. And I think the creme de la creme of his work is the Cornetto trilogy. Co-written by Wright himself and lead actor Simon Pegg, also known as My Favorite Person, the Cornetto trilogy, or Blood and Ice Cream trilogy depending on the person you ask, is an anthology film series made by mostly the same cast and crew consisting of the films Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, and The World's End. The films are some of the best action comedies ever, as well as some of the best parodies ever. Shaun of the Dead is the send-up of zombie horror, which also manages to be one of the best, most thematically resonant and moving zombie movies of all time. Hot Fuzz is the best cop movie ever made while still being a parody of cop movies. Both of these films are perfect send-ups of their respective genres, while still being the best of their genre. And The World's End is, you guessed it, not a parody. Wait, what? The World's End is a deep, emotional story about a man so stuck in the past that he ruins the lives of himself and his best friends just to try and relive his glory days. It's also an action comedy in which a man-child and 5 of his friends drunkenly try to stop a robot.
Well, the word robot actually comes from an old Czech word, robotnik, meaning slave.
And we're not slaves.
We're very, very happy.
And not robots.
Sorry, blank invasion that threatens mankind. So maybe it's not the most serious movie, but it is very deep and emotional, and it's my favourite movie in the Cornetto trilogy. Now for those who might not know, that is a very controversial opinion to hold. The World's End is pretty widely regarded as the weakest of the 3 movies. Most people are of the opinion that Shaun and Hot Fuzz are actually way better, and those people would be wrong. To be fair, I would actually agree that Hot Fuzz is probably the best of the 3 movies, but The World's End is still my favourite, and I want to talk about why. The World's End has the most personal story of the 3 movies. Shaun of the Dead is a close second, but where Shaun of the Dead could be about any average guy, the story of Gary King is a story that could only be told about a person like Gary King.
Right, there's only one Gary King.
The themes and ideas the movie presents and explores, themes of addiction, obsession, and the need to grow as people, are so perfectly interwoven with each other and the narrative, as well as resonating with me so personally, hit me more than any other film in Wright's filmography. It's also just a really well-made movie, not to mention damn funny. I have a really childish sense of humor, so dumb shit like this,
The big cancer.
or just random uses of creative vulgarity,
Oh, fuck off, you big lamb.
are just so fucking funny to me. But there's still the same smart and witty humour from the rest of the trilogy, so that it doesn't alienate itself, with the expected Edgar Wright brand visual comedy and clever lines of dialogue still here in full force.
Were you outside my house this morning?
No,
I could have swore I saw you on my street.
I've never been to Bishop's Gardens.
The World's End sense of humour is just much more tailored to my comedic taste than the rest of the movies. And that stuff matters in an action comedy. But you know what else matters in an action comedy? Action. Yes, of course you know it's action. I'm going to stop being a condescending prick now. The action is just as good as in all of Wright's previous films. The hand-to-hand brawls are excellently shot, choreographed and edited to keep things frantic and unpredictable, but still easy to follow and understand. And they all serve the plot and characters as well. The fight at the Beehive takes a chance to show us just a little more about each of the main cast of characters. Gary is a high-functioning alcoholic, so 7 pints in, he's still gonna be pretty strong, and Andy is a bigger guy and therefore would be able to hold his beer and shots better than the rest. Simon is clearly a bit pissed, but not to the point of collapse, and Peter is so terrible at holding his drinks that he has to hide under the table and barely does any thinking for the rest of the movie. In fact, the only real time he does think for himself again in the movie, he gets himself killed, so I guess make of that what you will. That's just one scene that goes above and beyond. The character work, action, comedy, editing, and just everything firing on all cylinders. like the whole movie goes this hard the whole time. But it doesn't just go hard in the filmmaking, it goes hard in my favourite part of the movie, hell of any movie, the story. It is my belief that if a movie isn't the best made movie, if it has a good story, themes, and characters, it can still be fantastic. And luckily for us, The World's End delivers on all fronts. The story, while being about a man-child and his friends saving the world from blanks, it's also the most personal story in Edgar Wright's entire filmography. The World's End explores themes of obsession, the dangers of addiction, and the importance of growing.
Sound of music. Sound of music.
Ever had one of those nights that starts out like any other but ends up being the best night of your life?
Are you sitting comfortably? Then we'll begin.
The film opens with Simon Pegg, Gary King, narrating over the events of June the 22nd, 1990, and explaining how it was the best night of his life. We understand almost immediately that this is a person who is very fond of his younger years and is very proud of all the exploits he got up to.
I bumped into his sister in the next pub. We went into the Disableds and I bumped into her again.
We learn a little about the characters, about Newton Haven, and what the Gold Mile is. Everything seems to be like the standard, run-of-the-mill opening exposition narration that we've all heard a million times. Then we see the real purpose of this opening. Of course, it is about setting up the events of the movie, but above all else, it establishes who Gary King is. Gary is a man stuck living in the past. He still thinks his life peaked in 1990.
Life would never feel this good again. And you know what? It never did.
And because of that, it probably did. Gary is so sure that that night was the best night of his life that he never tried to top it, only to relive his perfect night, which caused him to end up where he is, institutionalized for alcohol abuse. Only it wasn't perfect. Gary never finished the Golden Mile, and now nearly 25 years later, that obsession has overtaken him, to the point of him not only derailing his own life, but the lives of his 4 best friends, and then the world. But we'll get back to that. This obsession that Gary has about the Golden Mile has manifested itself into a deep and, I don't know, not really debilitating. Like I said, he seems to be a high-functioning alcoholic, but also his life is in complete and utter disarray because of his addiction, so I'm not really sure what to call it. But needless to say, his addiction to alcohol has destroyed his life to, like, ludicrous degrees. Gary doesn't have a life. Gary is so addicted to the drink that he lies to and swindles the only 4 people he's ever really cared about just to get them to go on a pub crawl with him. Gary is so helplessly addicted to
Amber.
that when faced with the fact that the town he and his friends are currently situated in has been taken over by extraterrestrial robots,
WTF, Gary? WTF? What the fuck does WTF mean? What the fuck? Oh.
he decides the best course of action would be to keep drinking.
No, wait. Where are you going? To get help? No, don't do that. We don't know how far this goes.
What do we do?
Let's finish our drinks. I say we neck these and get the fuck out of here. To London? To the trustee servants. You fucking get it. The way I see it, we've told everybody we're doing the Golden Mile. You did. If we suddenly jump in the beast now and head for the hills, they're gonna know that we know. But if we keep doing what we're doing and going where we're going, then they're not gonna know. I suggest we finish what we started and leave quietly in the morning.
Let that sink in. Gary would rather risk the life of everyone he has ever had a real, meaningful connection with than skip out on the possibility of another pint. It would almost be comical if it wasn't so depressingly sad. He would rather die drunk than live sober for even a few hours. All because he couldn't stomach 12 drinks when he was 17. Gary hasn't grown as a person since he was 17. He's still a child living in a man's body. He acts the same as he did in 1990 and expects his friends to act the same as well. Not only has Gary not grown as a person, the very idea of personal growth has completely passed him by. He is really, truly shocked to learn that after that night,
December 1997, when you OD'd, and I drove you to the hospital 4 times over the limit, and I ended up rolling the car and almost severing my femoral artery, at which point you made a miraculous fucking recovery and ran off into the night, leaving me to get arrested after 12 hours of life-saving surgery.
and he might have learnt from that truly horrible experience and given up on alcohol. Gary cannot fathom change. because he cannot change. And Gary cannot change because he doesn't want to. Okay, it's time to get back to that. Everything that I've talked about in this video and everything that I haven't has built up to this. The King's Head. Oliver and Peter are dead. Gary has been knocked out and Sam has left town. Andy and Simon are alone, just trying everything they possibly can to get the fuck out of Newton Haven. They've got to the King's Head and the car is just through that door. All they have to do is wait for the right moment and go. Then they look back and see Gary, perfectly awake, filling a glass. Gary now has the choice. The way out of everything, out of his addiction, obsession, depression, everything is right through that door. But Gary can't make himself step through it. He doesn't want to because of his addiction, obsession, depression. So he runs. He runs from his escape. With death at his heels, he runs to the next drink. He runs to the hole in the wall because
It never got better than that night. That was supposed to be the beginning of my life. All that promise and fucking optimism. That feeling like we could take on the whole universe. It was a big lie.
if he has to face what's become of his life, if he has to see how far the king has fallen, he simply will not be able to cope with it, and he knows that. So he goes for his last drink and dooms the world. And so we return to where we began. We return to the world's end. But it's not the end. The world may have ended, but even so, it keeps spinning. Life keeps going. And for Gary, life starts going. The network showed Gary what he could be, what he is, a shell, a blank, an empty vessel without any real humanity, and gave Gary a choice. Continue as you are, this thing pretending to be a kid who should have grown up years ago. Or actually grow, move on, become better. And Gary chooses. He walks up to the blank, to himself, takes him in his hands, and rips his head off.
Nah.
There's only one Gary King!
There's only one Gary King, and it's time for him to grow up. The last we see of Gary is him walking into a bar in the world he killed and ordering a glass of water. It may have taken the literal destruction of the modern world, but Gary is finally able to move on. And in doing so, he's become worthy of the title he once held.
Who the hell do you think you are? Me? They call me the King.
So that's the end of the video. Thank you guys very much for watching. This video took a lot longer than I expected it to make. Sorry for the late upload. I know I promised it like a week and a half ago, but it's here now, and hopefully the video itself will make up for the late upload. I really did put a lot into this video, so I really hope you enjoy it. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like. If you want to see more, consider subscribing. I got a few videos that I'm working on at the minute that I think you'll really enjoy. Follow me on Twitter, follow me on Letterboxd, and yeah, thanks for watching. See you next time.